Hi guys, welcome back to Curls and Sports with Erica. It's been a huge week in sports as the usual, and as well as weekend and today. In the past few hours, there's so much that's going on, and I'm actually really happy that I waited till today to record this video just to discuss some stuff. So without further ado, let's get this started. To start off with, Peyton Manning finally announced his retirement just a few hours ago in a press conference, and you could just tell that he was holding back his tears. It was a very emotional moment for him, but I think he's very content with his decision. You could tell that he put a lot of thought into it. It was just time to call it quits. You know, the football community showed their support. Cam Newton wrote a nice little Instagram post for him, and everyone is just showing support to see, you know, he finally made this decision, and at least he goes home with 2 Super Bowl rings, which is usually what people really wanted to see anyway. So to close off the segment, before I don't really want to dwell too much time on this because, you know, you could talk about football for hours and hours. One quote that he said was 18 is a great number. And I just wanted to say 18 is a nice number. It's not my number, but it's a nice number. But we'll give him that. You know, it's been an 18-year career. I guess he's very superstitious. He wanted to keep it 18. Okay, so we see you, Payne. We see what you're doing. We see that. Moving it along to Maria Sharapova, just a few hours ago, she held a press conference in which she shared that she tested positive for PEDs. Now, it's a bold move, and it's very admirable because you could tell it's tough because not a lot of players are willing to admit that. You usually see an AP address that says reportedly Maria Sharapova tested positive for PEDs. So we could definitely give her that, at least that she was, I don't want to say man enough because she's a woman, but she was at least bold enough to share it, and she shared it in a press conference. There was no shame. She admitted to her faults, and that's okay. That's what we love to see in sports. It's going to happen. But of course, Twitter, the biggest bully in the world, they already had jokes. I saw one joke on my feed that said, so Maria Sharapova is taking PEDs, but then again, she can't beat Serena. What's that about? So we definitely see the shade coming in somehow. People are never going to stop being mean, in other words. And some hockey news, as promised. I definitely want to touch upon every single topic. I don't want to leave a sport out, and I don't want to be too selective. So to start off with hockey news, the Anaheim Ducks, they're definitely surprisingly right now with their 11 straight wins. I didn't like, the Ducks are definitely surprising everyone, and they're even ahead of the Kings. So it's going to be different. It's going to be definitely interesting to see how that playoff race is going to look out. And there was a lot of New York Rangers and Islanders fans. They were pissed off, especially it was a heated game, and they pulled the upset. The Islanders won, and will we see a playoff series between the two? It's going to be interesting. Just something that's worth noting. It's just another clear sign that the Islanders own the Rangers in regular season. But it's still too early. You know, it's only March still. Hockey doesn't even end anytime. Actually, it ends around the same time as basketball, for those of you who didn't know. And for those of you who really don't pay attention to hockey, rather. Moving it along to some baseball news. Spring training is in full swing, of course, and I'm actually a little bit intrigued by Yoenis Cespedes, Mets player, who keeps showing up to spring training with some weird cars. In the last instance, they showed up with horses. Now, I am an angry Mets fan, so I will put that out there, and I admit to it. So I would like to see the same effort of him choosing his cars and his animals on the field. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not over what happened last year, but I will get over it soon. I don't know when, but soon. And a lot of other people, this is actually worth noting. It sucks, but you know, they had to make an example out of it. On February 25th, the MLB announced a new rule, especially about the sliding in on second base, and Chase Utley was recently announced that he's not getting suspended, and a lot of people are a little bit upset about that, but you really can't be upset about it because Joe Torre said it the best. It was not an example to set, so that's why they set up this new rule, and for that reason. And I mean, I have a lot more to say about that. I just don't want to dwell on it because I'll sound too much of a fan. But at the end of the day, they made the right decision, because you can't just penalize Chase Utley, because I'm sure that he didn't do it on purpose, as much as people don't want to think that. But if you recall the video, and of course, when I start adding and editing these videos much more, I'll show like on the bottom screen what exactly happened. I don't really think it was intentional. I think it's just you know, it was a heavy game, and the Dodgers wanted to win, the Mets wanted to win. Of course, the Mets went on to advance, so you're gonna try to do everything possible to not be out. That's my thing. But of course, fan base and other players still were saying we're ready to categorize Chase Utley. But I'll leave it at that. We'll see what happens this season, especially since the rule was just implemented on February 25th, like I said, and we'll see what happens. Moving it along to some basketball news. I actually I really had my heart set on who was going to be my infamous Jordan crying face. Looks pretty good. But after seeing yesterday's game with the Warriors and the Lakers, as you probably already know and saw on the face of Twitter, everyone was very quick. It's like they had these files on their desktop. They were ready to make jokes on the Warriors. But of course, that's that. So for that reason, since they lost to the Lakers, and I don't really know if people were very, very quick to say that Stephen Curry was crying on the sidelines. I don't really know about that. I think he was just stressed out because he just let this game fall out of hand. But I think I'm going to go ahead and say that the Warriors appropriately get the Jordan crying face for this week. They'll be okay. Like, their record still looks good. They're probably, I mean, I don't want to say that they're probably going to beat the Spurs because we never know. The upset might just happen again and the Spurs might just win. And that's not a Spurs fan in me talking. But the Warriors just look great on paper and on the court. You never really know what's going to happen with anything. It was just really, really funny to see him crying on this, basically borderline crying on the sideline. And I guess you need to lose to kind of bring you back down to realize that you are human. Probably, perhaps. So moving it along, a lot of people were also upset only because I cover the Knicks. I'm going to share some Knicks news as well, like I mentioned. A lot of people were upset that Ty Lawson wasn't signed, and I think that was probably a good thing because I was reading that a lot of people that he has some alcohol issues as well. And New York City that never sleeps. We saw what it did to J.R. Smith. I think it's the best thing that he probably didn't come to the city. But the Knicks actually signed Tony Wharton for 2 years. It's still not a done deal, and this is probably the point guard that they needed. We're not sure what's going to happen with Jose Calderon. That's still, in the works. Everything isn't even completed yet. It'll probably be by the end of the week, but also worth noting that the second year isn't even guaranteed. Wharton is young. He's 23 years old. They're not going to bring him on for the season. If anything, they probably should have done a 10-day contract and fell him out a little bit, at least with practice, and see if he deserved to play. But we know how the Knicks are. They're a little bit hasty. They were definitely quick to do that. So to close it all off, I figured let's talk about some entertainment news. I'm a Suits fan, and if I don't want to spoil it for those of you who don't watch, Mike is in jail. He's definitely going to do time, and I'm very, very happy that they're not going to do any time jump. So we're going to see him probably in jail for a couple of seasons. From what I believe, he might be in jail for the entire season 6. Maybe not 7. They'll probably maybe time jump maybe a couple of months or something like that, like to spring, to summer, and stuff like that. That's what I think, but we never really know because season 6 is still being written. To close it off, in addition to Suits, The Walking Dead news. I figured let's throw in some pop culture here to get people to write and see, for those of you who don't read the comics. I'm partial. I read them and then I don't read them because everything is on Google. So you could just look it up really, really quickly if you don't know who a character is. For example, Jesus, the new character that they just debuted a couple of weeks ago. You don't know who he is, just look him up. It's really, really easy. It's going to be tough to see where they go from here, but especially with last night's raid of Negan's people. I think it was very, very dumb and a little nerve-wracking, especially as a fan. You're sitting back and you're just like, oh my god, can't these people catch a break? Why can't they just leave them alone? But of course, if that's what it was about, there wouldn't be any fans of the show, and people wouldn't be sitting there and watching and commenting and even live tweeting about the show. And I guess that's all for today, guys. Oh, I almost forgot UFC news. I knew I was forgetting something. With Holm and McGregor losing, I'm not too sure that I am that surprised. But at the same time, there was a lot of heat in their in their press conferences. Of course, boxing and MMA, those type of sports, is a lot of trash talk. There's that stare in the face. You're getting in up in your components. You're getting in your opponent's face. So I'm not too sure if I'm really too surprised that they lost. I'm probably more surprised about Holm losing than McGregor. Of course, people had their fun with this little guy right here, putting them all over the photos. They probably had the files, like I said, on their desktop somewhere. They were just ready to share all over your news feeds. Well, I feel like I covered everything, thankfully. Of course, I invite you all to subscribe to my channel, and of course comment below what would you like to see me to talk about next week. I just a heads up, I am covering the NCAA tournament for rounds 1 and 2 next week in the Barclays Center, and of course there's a couple of Knicks games coming up. I'm covering the Bulls and the Cavaliers game. So if you would like for me to ask any questions, please let me know below. Of course, connect with me on Instagram or social media in general, and I look forward to see you guys next week. Bye!